The ultimatum. Ambassador Thomas Rice stood before the Galactic Council, his jaw clenched as the weight of Earth's fate bore down on him. For the 100th time, he had come to this grand chamber, seeking humanity's rightful recognition in the galactic community, only to be met with scorn and derision. Galactic Councilor Den slammed his fist on the podium, sneering down at the human petitioner. "Your kind will never earn a seat among the enlightened races," he spat. Rice drew himself up to his full height, his voice ringing out with steely conviction. "Esteemed counselors, hear me well. Your dismissal of humanity has been a grave error in judgment. We are not the simple brutes you paint us to be. Our advancements have brought us to the stars, ready to claim our destiny." The ambassador paused, his eyes blazing with determination. "So I give you a choice. 1 Earth year remains to welcome us as equals, to grant our rightful seat on this council. But refuse us again, and you will learn the true strength of the human spirit. We will not cower or yield. Deny us, and you would be wise to run far and fast, for we will come for you with all the might and fury of Earth. The decision is yours, counselors, recognition or ruin. But know that we will have our place among the stars, one way or another." Rice's words hung in the air, a stunned silence gripping the chamber. Then the uproar erupted, alien diplomats shouting in outrage at the human's gall. Some scoffed at his empty threats, while others eyed the ambassador nervously, an unspoken dread taking root. Den tried to maintain a facade of aloof superiority, but behind closed doors, he and a few others wondered uneasily, had they underestimated the potential danger of a defiant Earth? Whispers of the human ultimatum spread like wildfire through the galaxies, and quietly in the shadows, an unprecedented mobilization began as humanity prepared to seize its cosmic birthright before the Council's time ran out. Preparations for war. In the heart of the Pentagon, a room that officially did not exist housed the greatest military minds Earth had to offer. General Marcus Graves stood at the head of a long table, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays floating above the polished surface. "Ladies and gentlemen," Graves began, his voice carrying the weight of the world, "we stand at the precipice of a galactic conflict, the likes of which we have never seen. The Galactic Council may believe they can dismiss us, but we will show them the true mettle of the human spirit." He tapped a command on the table, bringing up a detailed star map. "Our first priority is to secure our colonies and fortify our defenses. We cannot afford to lose a single outpost." Graves' gaze settled on a striking woman with piercing eyes. "Colonel Phoenix, I need your best operatives on the ground, gathering intel on the enemy's movements and infrastructure." Colonel Catherine Phoenix nodded curtly. "My team is ready, sir. We'll get you the information you need." She turned to a lean, shadowy figure beside her. "Lieutenant Hawkins, prep your gear. We leave at 400. Lieutenant Jake Ghost Hawkins flashed a predatory grin. "Roger that, ma'am. We'll give those alien bastards a reason to fear the dark." As Phoenix's team filed out to begin their covert missions, Graves addressed the rest of the council. "While they gather intelligence, we must prepare for the worst. Dr. Cassandra Hale, what progress have you made on the new defense technologies?" A brilliant scientist with a sharp gaze stepped forward. "Our new energy shields are nearing completion, General. They should provide a significant advantage against the aliens' weapons, and the AI combat systems are learning at an exponential rate. They'll be ready for deployment within the month." Graves nodded, a glimmer of hope in his battle-hardened eyes. "Excellent work, Doctor. We'll need every edge we can get." Deep in space, aboard the Galactic Council's flagship, Commander Varks paced the bridge like a caged predator, her reptilian eyes gleaming with malice as she studied the reports from her spies. "The humans are up to something," she hissed, her forked tongue flicking out in agitation. "Increase surveillance on their colonies. I want to know their every move." Her second-in-command, Sergeant Rexon Flug, snapped to attention. "At once, Commander. And what of the human ambassador's ultimatum?" Vex sneered, her scales rippling with contempt. "Empty threats from a primitive species. They have no idea of the true power they face. She turned, her gaze hardening. But perhaps it's time we teach them a lesson. Find a human outpost with minimal defenses. We'll show them the price of defiance. As Flug set out to carry out his orders, Vex allowed herself a cruel smile. The humans would learn their place, one way or another. Light years away, on the gleaming bridge of an Avon warship, Admiral Vessa Thorne studied the latest intelligence reports with growing unease. The delicate feathers on her head ruffled in agitation as she read of the escalating tensions between humanity and the Council. She tapped a button on her console, opening a secure communication channel. The face of Ambassador Rice appeared on the screen, his expression grave. "Admiral Thorne," he greeted, his voice tight with strain. "I trust you've seen the latest developments." Thorne nodded, her golden eyes troubled. "The Council is making a mistake, Ambassador. They underestimate your people at their own peril." Rice's teeth gritted. "And we're running out of time to make them see reason. The deadline approaches, and the drums of war grow louder every day." Thorne leaned forward, her voice urgent. "Then we must work together to prevent this conflict before it consumes us all. I will reach out to my allies on the Council, try to sway them to our side. But we must tread carefully. There are those who would see our efforts as treason." Rice's eyes glinted with willpower. "We'll do whatever it takes, Admiral. The future of both our peoples depends on it." As the transmission ended, Thorne stared out at the stars, a sense of foreboding washing over her. The fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance, and she could only hope that cooler heads would prevail before it was too late. On the fringes of human space, a battered mining outpost huddled beneath the shadow of a gas giant. The hard-scrabble miners who called it home had carved out a meager existence, extracting precious resources from the unforgiving rock. They had no warning when the alien ships appeared in the sky, their hulls gleaming with malevolent purpose. The miners scrambled for their weapons, but they were hopelessly outmatched. The attack was swift and merciless, plasma beams lancing down from the ships, vaporizing habitats and equipment with ruthless efficiency. The screams of the dying mingled with the roar of collapsing structures, a symphony of destruction that echoed across the barren landscape. In a matter of minutes, the outpost was reduced to a smoldering ruin, the corpses of the miners strewn among the wreckage. News of the massacre spread like wildfire, igniting outrage across human space. In the halls of power on Earth, Ambassador Rice watched the footage of the carnage, his heart heavy with the weight of the lives lost. But beneath the grief, a cold fury burned. The aliens had crossed a line, and there would be no going back. The time for diplomacy had passed. Now there would be only the reckoning. As the one-year deadline ticked inexorably closer, the forces of humanity and the Galactic Council maneuvered in a deadly dance, each seeking advantage over the other. Covert missions and clandestine meetings shaped the fate of worlds, while the specter of all-out war loomed ever larger on the horizon. The great powers of the galaxy stood on the brink of a conflict that would reshape the cosmos itself, and in the heart of it all, the indomitable human spirit burned bright, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battles erupt. The war room's holographic displays flickered with a sea of red markers, each representing a human outpost or colony. General Graves studied the tactical layout, his weathered face etched with steadfast perseverance. "It's time," he announced, his voice cutting through the tense silence. "Admiral Hale, deploy the fleet to New Terra. Show those reptilian bastards we mean business." Admiral Jaden Hale snapped a crisp salute. "Understood, sir. We'll be ready to move out within 24 hours." As Hale strode from the room, Ambassador Rice stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with terrifying excitement. "General, I have news from our alien allies. We've uncovered something big, evidence of technology suppression by the Council. This could change everything." Graves leaned in, intrigued. "Go on." Rice's words tumbled out in a rush. "Medical breakthroughs, clean energy solutions, all kept from us. We're leaking it to the galactic media as we speak. A thin smile crossed Graves' face. "Excellent work, Rice. Let's see how the Council handles this little PR disaster." Across the galaxy, Colonel Phoenix crouched behind a rocky outcropping, her team arrayed around her in stealth suits. The reptilian military installation loomed before them, its energy shields shimmering in the alien twilight. "Ghost, you're up," Phoenix whispered into her comm. "Get in, get the data, get out. No heroics." Lieutenant Hawkins' voice crackled back. "Roger that, Colonel. I'll be back before you know it." But as the hours ticked by with no word from Hawkins, a sick feeling grew in Phoenix's gut. Something had gone wrong. Her fears were confirmed when Sergeant Flux's smug visage appeared on the emergency channel. "Looking for your little spy, humans," he hissed. "He's ours now. Come and get him, if you dare." The news of Hawkins' capture hit the war room like a thunderbolt. General Graves paced furiously, his mind racing through options. "We can't leave him there," he growled. Steel Captain Marcus Steele materialized from the shadows, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly. "Sir, assemble your best. We're getting our man back." The rescue mission was a blur of plasma fire and screams. Steele's team fought tooth and nail through the reptilian prison complex, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. They found Hawkins, barely conscious, his body a mass of bruises and cuts. As they fled to their extraction point, reptilian reinforcements swarmed in. Steele watched in horror as half his team was cut down in a hail of energy bolts, but they escaped by the skin of their teeth. The aftermath of the rescue reverberated across the galaxy. Commander Vex, seething with rage at the human incursion, gathered her fleet for a counterstrike. "Prometheus," she snarled to her bridge crew. "We'll crush their pathetic colony and show them the price of defiance." The reptilian assault caught Prometheus off guard. Orbital defenses crumbled under the onslaught, and dropships full of reptilian shock troops descended on the terrified colonists. Admiral Hale, monitoring the situation from New Terra, knew he had to act fast. "Commander Vega," he barked into the comm, "take the rapid response force and get to Prometheus now." Elena Vega's fingers flew over her ship's controls as she led her fleet out of hyperspace and into the chaos above Prometheus. The sight that greeted her turned her blood to ice. Reptilian warships swarming like angry insects, raining death on the colony below. "All ships, form up on me," Vega ordered, her mind already formulating a plan. "We're going to use that asteroid field to our advantage." What followed was a masterclass in space combat. Vega's ships darted and weaved through the asteroid belt, using the rocky debris as cover and lures for the less maneuverable reptilian vessels. One by one, enemy ships fell to precision strikes or devastating collisions. But Vega knew the real threat was Vex's flagship, still hanging back from the main battle. With a deep breath, she made her decision. "Prepare boarding teams," she announced. "We're taking the fight to them." The boarding action was brutal, close-quarters combat at its deadliest. Vega fought her way through corridors littered with human and reptilian bodies, her pulse rifle spitting death at every turn. Finally, she reached the bridge, coming face to face with Commander Vex herself. The reptilian scales gleamed with battle fury as she lunged at Vega with razor-sharp claws. For long minutes they grappled and struck, neither able to gain the upper hand. But slowly, inexorably, Vega's superior training began to tell. With a final decisive blow, she sent Vex crashing to the deck, unconscious. As word of the reptilian defeat spread, the galaxy held its breath. The Battle of Prometheus had proven humanity's mettle beyond doubt, but at a terrible cost. Thousands of human lives had been snuffed out in the conflict, both military and civilian. In the halls of the Galactic Council, the emergency session crackled with tension. Counselor Den's voice rang out, dripping with venom. "These humans are a menace. They must be sanctioned, contained before they can do any more damage." But Admiral Thorne stood firm, her feathers ruffled with indignation. The humans defended themselves against unprovoked aggression. If anyone should be sanctioned, it's the reptilians. As the argument raged, Ambassador Rice stepped forward, his eyes blazing with righteous anger. Esteemed counselors, for too long, you have treated humanity as second-class citizens of the galaxy. You've hidden technology from us, dismissed our accomplishments, and now you have the gall to condemn us for defending ourselves. He paused, letting his words sink in. I say again, grant us our rightful seat on this council, or face the consequences. The choice is yours. A hush fell over the chamber as the counselors exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, a vote was called, and by the narrowest of margins, they agreed to open negotiations for Earth's inclusion. But even as Rice allowed himself a moment of triumph, he knew the real battle was just beginning. The reptilians and their allies were already mobilizing for war, determined to crush humanity once and for all. Escalating conflict, and the tide turns. As the council session adjourned, Rice's communicator chirped with an incoming message from General Graves. Ambassador, get back to Earth. We need to prepare for what's coming. Rice nodded grimly, his heart heavy with the fate of humanity, and indeed the entire galaxy now hanging in the balance. His communicator chirped again as he strode from the council chambers. Ambassador, we have a situation. General Graves' voice crackled. Commander Vex has gone rogue. Our intel suggests she's reaching out to some nasty customers. The Dranger, led by Supreme Warlord Draz. Rice's blood ran cold. The Dranger were renowned for their brutality, leaving nothing but scorched worlds in their wake. We can't let that alliance form, General. Agreed, Graves said. That's why we're striking first. Within hours, Rice found himself back in the war room on Earth, watching as holographic displays lit up with the positions of human fleets across multiple star systems. Admiral Hale's calm voice filled the room as he outlined the plan of attack. We'll hit their shipyards here, and here. Commander Vega will lead the assault on their orbital defense platforms. Speed and precision are critical. The room fell silent as the operation began. Rice watched, heart pounding, as human ships dropped out of hyperspace, catching the reptilian forces completely off guard. Target acquired. Vega's voice crackled over the comms, firing main batteries. A brilliant flash erupted on the tactical display as the platform disintegrated. Similar scenes played out across a dozen systems as humanity struck hard and fast at the reptilian war machine. But the aliens weren't about to go down without a fight. As Rice and Graves monitored the unfolding battles, alarms blared. A massive reptilian fleet had emerged in the Epsilon sector, a critical nexus of trade routes. It's Vex, Graves growled. She's making her move. The battle that erupted in Epsilon was unlike anything Rice had ever seen. Thousands of ships clashed in a titanic struggle, energy weapons lancing across the void of space. At the heart of the reptilian formation loomed the massive dreadnought, the Red Scourge, Vex's flagship. Lieutenant Hawkins' face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim but determined. General, we're in position. Permission to commence boarding action on the Red Scourge. Graves nodded. Granted, son. Give them hell. Rice watched in awe as Hawkins led his team through the bowels of the massive alien ship. They fought their way through twisting corridors, leaving a trail of reptilian bodies in their wake. Finally, they reached the ship's reactor core. Sir, Hawkins' voice came through, strained and barely audible over the sound of weapons fire. We've rigged the core to overload, but we're cut off. There's no way out. A heavy silence fell over the war room. Rice saw the pain in Graves' eyes as he spoke. Understood, Lieutenant. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Moments later, the Red Scourge erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, taking Hawkins and his team with it. The reptilian fleet, suddenly leaderless, began to falter. News of the victory spread, and smaller alien species, long chafing under reptilian rule, pledged their support to humanity. Vital intelligence flowed in, painting a picture of a galactic order on the brink of collapse. But the war was just the beginning. On the Counselor homeworlds, Den and his loyalists grew increasingly desperate. Rice received an urgent transmission from Admiral Thorne, her feathers dripping with alarm. Ambassador, we've uncovered a plot. Den plans to unleash a bioweapon called the Drex on your colony of Avalon. You must act quickly. Rice relayed the warning to Hale, who immediately set course for Avalon. But even as evacuation ships raced to the colony, Den's forces launched their vicious payload on Avalon's surface. Captain Steele and his team prepared for a last stand. The Drex, a virulent pathogen engineered to target human physiology, threatened to wipe out all life on the planet. We can't let it spread, Steele growled, his cybernetic eye scanning the approaching cloud of death. There was only one way to stop this. Without hesitation, Steele charged into the contaminated zone, his body's radiation shielding already failing. He reached the atmospheric control center, fingers flying over the controls as he initiated a localized plasma burst. The sky above Avalon lit up with an otherworldly fire, incinerating the Drex before it could take hold. But the cost was steep. Steele's body, racked with radiation, collapsed as the last of the pathogen burned away. As news of Steele's sacrifice spread, the balance of power shifted decisively. Moderate council members, led by Pliskin of the Katashi, moved to oust Den and sue for peace. The Galactic Council's authority crumbled, leaving humanity ascendant. But even as Rice allowed himself a moment of hope, a chill ran down his spine. Reports were coming in of massive fleet movements on the galaxy's outer rim. The Drangr were on the move, and the greatest challenge to human dominance was yet to come. The Reckoning. General Graves' eyes burned with intensity as he surveyed the holographic display. Admiral Hale, initiate Operation Firestorm. Hale nodded, his fingers dancing across the command console. All fleets, this is Admiral Hale. Commence synchronized attacks. May God have mercy on our enemies, because we won't. Across the galaxy, human warships dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons already blazing. Commander Vega's stealth fighters sliced through the Drangr supply lines like hot knives through butter, plasma torpedoes detonating with surgical precision, vaporizing fuel depots and munition stockpiles on the surface of Raya Prime. Captain Steele ducked behind a shattered wall as reptilian energy bolts sizzled overhead. Push forward, he roared, his cybernetic eye targeting weak points in the enemy formation. Human Marines surged ahead, their powered armor shrugging off incoming fire. In the Carrack Nebula, the dazzling light show erupted as Captain Nadia Joe's shockwave cruisers met Supreme Warlord Draz's Drangr horde. Swarms of alien fighters disintegrate under the onslaught of experimental plasma cannons, Joe ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. Recalibrate for maximum dispersion. Let's show these bastards what humanity can do. The nebula's charged particles ignited, creating a cascading wave of destruction that tore through the Drangr fleet. Draz's flagship, a grotesque amalgamation of stolen technology, exploded in a brilliant fireball. On the remnants of the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Rice strode purposefully towards the central chamber, flanked by Marines. The few alien diplomats who remained cowered as he passed. This is the dawn of a new era, Rice declared, his voice echoing through the cavernous hall. Humanity extends its hand in peace, but make no mistake, we will no longer tolerate oppression or injustice. Counselor Den, his torn and stained robes a testament to his fallen status, was dragged before Rice in chains. Take him to Earth, Rice commanded. He'll stand trial for his crimes against sentient beings everywhere. As the last pockets of resistance crumbled, Admiral Hale's voice crackled over the comms. The hub of worlds is secure, sir. We've done it. Rice allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had indeed been transformed, but the true test lay ahead, forging a lasting peace. In the aftermath, the dust settled on the remnants of the Galactic Council station as Rice surveyed the cavernous hall. Holographic displays flickered to life, projecting the faces of human commanders across the stars. The old order is finished, Rice declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "It's time to build anew." General Graves' gruff visage appeared before him. "We're establishing the Pan and Protectorate as we speak, Mr. Ambassador, or should I say, Chancellor." Rice nodded, the weight of his new title settling on his shoulders. "First things first, Admiral Thorne, your people stood by us. Consider this an official offer of provisional membership in our new galactic community." The Avon's feathers ruffled with pride. "We accept, Chancellor. The Avons stand ready to assist in any way we can." As Rice outlined plans for the new order, Commander Vega's face appeared on another screen, her expression grim. Commitment etched in every line. "Chancellor, I'm en route to the Dranger homeworld. Their loyalists are dug in, but we'll root them out." "Understood, Admiral Vega," Rice replied, noting her well-deserved promotion. "Bring us Draz. He'll answer for his crimes." The transmission cut out, replaced by the stern countenance of Colonel Phoenix. "Sir, we've uncovered some disturbing research programs, genetic manipulation, AI weapons, the works." Rice's eyes narrowed. "Shut them down. All of them. We didn't come this far to let forbidden tech destabilize everything." As Rice coordinated the galaxy-wide purge, alarms blared through the station. Admiral Thorne's voice cut through the chaos. "Chancellor, Denb has escaped custody. He's rallying his old allies for an insurrection." Rice's lips pursed. "Find him, Admiral. We can't let this spread." Days passed in a blur of activity as Rice worked tirelessly, coordinating military operations and diplomatic initiatives. The galaxy was in flux, old powers crumbling as humanity asserted its dominance. On the Dranger homeworld, Admiral Vega led her troops through the ruined streets of the capital, energy weapons crackling, illuminating the alien architecture in brief, violent flashes. "Push forward," Vega shouted, her pulse rifle spitting death at the Dranger defenders. "Draz is cornered, and this with a final, concerted assault." Vega's forces breached the inner sanctum. And there, cowering before human might, was the once-feared supreme warlord Draz. "Your reign of terror is over," Vega declared, hauling the alien to his feet. "You'll face justice for your crimes." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Rogue factions fell one by one, their hidden labs and secret weapons caches destroyed. Humanity's iron will reshape the cosmic order. In the skeletal framework of Terra Nova, the new galactic capital under construction, Chancellor Rice addressed a diverse gathering of alien representatives. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," he proclaimed, gesturing to the stars visible through the unfinished dome. "Humanity will lead, but we do not stand alone. Together, we will forge a better future for all sentient beings." As Rice's words echoed through the assembly, Admiral Thorne approached, her feathers dripping with urgency. "Chancellor, we've cornered Denb and Vex. They're making their last stand on Proxima Station." Rice's eyes hardened. "Then let's finish this, Admiral. The galaxy awaits its new beginning." The final confrontation was a blur of plasma fire and desperate struggle. Denb and Vex, their once vaunted power reduced to a desperate last stand, were no match for the relentless onslaught of the human forces. In the aftermath, as the galaxy slowly began to heal under humanity's firm guidance, pockets of resistance festered in the shadows, threatening to unravel all they had fought for. Admiral Xavier Caldwell stood on the bridge of the HMS Indomitable, his weathered face illuminated by the swirling gases of the Cran Cloud Nebula. "Status report," he barked. Lieutenant Jacine Chen's fingers danced across her console. "Sir, we've detected energy fluctuations consistent with Delvian cloaking tech. Triangulating now." Caldwell nodded grimly. "VRA thinks he can hide from us. Time to prove him wrong." The Indomitable's engines thrummed to life, propelling the ship deeper into the nebula's concealing embrace. Suddenly, alarms blared as a barrage of plasma torpedoes erupted from the void. "Evasive maneuvers," Caldwell roared, and the ship lurched, narrowly avoiding destruction. As the battle raged, Caldwell's tactical genius shone. He anticipated VRA's hit-and-run tactics, methodically cornering the rebels. After a grueling series of skirmishes, the Delvian base stood exposed. "All hands, prepare for boarding," Caldwell commanded, leading the charge personally. His power armor absorbed enemy fire as he crashed through the station's defenses. In the command center, VRA snarled defiance. "You cannot extinguish the flame." But his words were cut short as Caldwell's fist connected with his jaw. The Delvian warlord crumpled, his insurrection crushed. Meanwhile, on the distant world of Tartarus, Colonel Phoenix crouched in the shadows of a massive reptilian structure, her team moving with silent efficiency. They'd breached the final chamber, revealing row upon row of sleek canisters. "My God," Phoenix breathed. "There's enough here to wipe out half the sector." Captain Reyna, Kaleda's voice crackled over the comm. "Colonel, I'm detecting high levels of mutagenic compounds. We're close." As Kaleda worked to defuse the bioweapon's fail-safes, Phoenix accessed the lab's central computer. "Chancellor, you need to see this. The scope of their operation is beyond anything we imagined." Rice's holographic form materialized, his expression grim. "Understood, Colonel. You have new orders. Operation Longshot is a go." Across the outer fringes, humanity's might was unleashed. The newly christened Ascension emerged from hyperspace above Cygnus Prime, its singularity cannons glowing with impossibly strong power. Major Jared Sloan's voice rang out across all frequencies. "Attention, Cygnus, you harbor illegal weapons facilities. Surrender now or face annihilation." From the planet's surface, concealed gun batteries opened fire. Sloan's lips curled into a predatory grin. "So be it." The Ascension's main guns flared to life, warping the very fabric of space-time. Entire continents were scoured clean as Commander Reyna Zale led her strike teams to secure critical targets. For months, the relentless campaign continued. World after world fell to Longshot's cleansing fire, those who resisted crushed, and those who surrendered shown mercy, after thorough purges of any connection to the old regime. Finally, on the remote world of Clarin, humanity cornered its prey. Erebus, mastermind of the largest remaining weapons syndicate, found himself with nowhere left to run. "Commander, he's activated the main reactor," Lieutenant Vasquez shouted. "It's going critical." Zale's mind raced, calculating options. "Evacuate the civilians," she ordered. "Weck, hold them off as long as you can." What followed was a masterclass in heroism. Zale and her team fought like demons, buying precious minutes for transport ships to spirit away Clarin's populace. As the last refugees cleared the atmosphere, Zale allowed herself a small smile. "It's been an honor," she said simply, before the world around her erupted in atomic fire. From orbit, Major Sloan watched the devastation unfold, his fist tight as he gave the final order. "Fire singularity cannons. Let's finish this." The Ascension's weapons lashed out one last time, erasing Erebus and his followers from existence. As the energy dissipated, Chancellor Rice's face appeared on the main view screen. "The last syndicate is gone," Sloan reported. "But the cost?" Rice nodded solemnly. "Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. But now we must look to the future." In the halls of Terra Nova, Rice conferred with Admiral Thorne. "The time has come for true change," he declared. "No more half measures. We will reshape this galaxy into something greater than it has ever been." Thorne's feathers rippled with excitement. "What do you propose, Chancellor?" Rice's eyes gleamed with conviction. "A new doctrine, egalitarian Unitarianism. We will tear down the old hierarchies and build a society where every sentient being has a chance to thrive." As they began to draft plans for this sweeping transformation, reports flowed in from across the stars. The galaxy held its breath, wondering what this new era of human dominance would bring. Chancellor Rice stood before the newly constructed Concord Council chamber, its gleaming surfaces reflecting the faces of diverse alien species gathered for this momentous occasion. He took a deep breath, steadying himself for the speech that would reshape galactic society. Members of the conquered honored representatives, Rice began, his voice carrying across the cavernous hall. Today marks the dawn of true unity. Our egalitarian Unitarianism doctrine will dismantle the old hierarchies and grant every sentient being a voice in shaping our shared future. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as Rice outlined the sweeping reforms: equal representation, merit-based elections, and a commitment to addressing long-standing injustices. As he spoke, Fleet Admiral Zara Vega surveyed the chamber from her raised dais, her new role as steward of the council taking a toll upon her. But she stood tall, ready to maintain order and impartiality. The first election saw a flurry of activity across the galaxy. On the Avon homeworld, Admiral Vestra Thorne's supporters filled the streets, their colorful plumage creating a sea of motion as they rallied behind her progressive platform. Meanwhile, on the sterile laboratories of Janara Prime, AAR Puran's campaign focused on leveraging scientific advancements to benefit all species. When the votes were tallied, both Thorne and Puran emerged as powerful voices on the council. However, their idealistic visions immediately clashed with the realities of galactic politics. During the council's inaugural session, Den, his once regal bearing now tinged with bitterness, rose to speak. This unity is nothing more than human domination dressed in flowery rhetoric, he snarled, his words eliciting angry shouts from multiple factions. Admiral Vega's voice cut through the din. Counselor Den, you will maintain order or be removed from these proceedings. As the council session descended into chaos, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, poised between the promise of a new era and the shadows of the old. Forging a new order, the dust had settled, and the Galactic Council lay in ruins. Chancellor Rice stood at the forefront of a new era, determined to reshape the galaxy into something greater than it had ever been. In the halls of Terra Nova, the fledgling capital, Rice convened with his trusted advisors, mapping out a course for the future. Admiral Thorne, her feathers still ruffled from the tumultuous council session, outlined the challenges that lay ahead. The old power structures are crumbling, but there are still those who cling to the past, she said, her golden eyes narrowed with concern. We must tread carefully, Chancellor, lest we sow the seeds of further conflict. Rice nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. Then we must move swiftly to establish a new framework, one that gives voice to every sentient being, regardless of species or origin. Turning to the gathered representatives, he spoke with conviction. The egalitarian Unitarianism doctrine will be the foundation of our new order. No more will we tolerate the oppression and subjugation that plagued the old regime. Every world, every people will have an equal seat at the table. The alien delegates murmured, some with cautious optimism, others with lingering skepticism. Admiral Vega, her posture straight and steady, stepped forward. Chancellor, I will oversee the implementation of these reforms, ensuring fairness and impartiality throughout the process. Her gaze swept the room, brooking no dissent. Those who stand in the way of progress will be met with the full force of our resolve. Rice placed a reassuring hand on Vega's shoulder. I have the utmost faith in you, Admiral. Together, we will usher in a new era of cooperation and prosperity. As the council adjourned, Rice turned his attention to the more immediate challenges. Colonel Phoenix's latest report weighed heavily on his mind. The scope of the reptilian and Dranger's illicit research programs a disturbing revelation. We cannot allow these abominations to take root, he said, his features hardening. Assemble a task force. Phoenix, root out every last vestige of the old order's atrocities. No stone is to be left unturned. Phoenix's nod was curt, her eyes gleaming with determination. It will be done, Chancellor. My team is ready to move out immediately. While Phoenix's operatives scoured the galaxy, seeking out and dismantling the remnants of the old regime's nefarious schemes, Rice focused his efforts on rebuilding the infrastructure and forging new alliances. Admiral Hale's reports of the Ascension's successful campaigns against the Dranker and Reptilian strongholds brought a glimmer of hope to the Chancellor's weary features. "Excellent work, Admiral. Continue the push, but caution your forces. We cannot afford to lose any more ground." Hale's image on the holo display nodded in acknowledgement. "Understood, Chancellor. We'll secure the remaining sectors within the month." As the human fleets secured vital systems and colonies, Rice turned his attention to the diplomatic front. Reaching out to the newly empowered alien factions, he extended olive branches, offering them a seat at the table of the emerging galactic concord. The Avon, led by the steadfast Admiral Thorne, were the first to pledge their allegiance. "We stand with you, Chancellor," Thorne declared, her feathers rippling with pride. "The Evans will lend their full support to this new era of unity." One by one, other species followed suit: the Katashi, the Genarians, even the once wary Delvians, all drawn to the promise of a more equitable future. Rice watched with cautious optimism as the framework of the Concord took shape, its diverse membership a testament to the power of his vision. Yet, even as the new order began to take root, Rice knew that the true test lay ahead. Pockets of resistance, fueled by the embers of the old regime, continued to flare up, threatening to unravel all that had been accomplished. In the shadows, whispers of dissent echoed, and Rice knew that he must be vigilant. The road to lasting peace would be long and arduous, but he was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. As the first Concord Council session convened, Rice stood before the assembled delegates, his gaze sweeping the room with a mixture of pride and resolve. "We stand at a crossroads, my friends. The old ways have crumbled, and in their place, we have the opportunity to build something greater, a galaxy united, where every voice is heard, and every soul is free." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. "This will not be an easy path. There will be those who cling to the past, who seek to undermine our progress. But I say to you now, we will not falter. We will not yield." Rice's eyes gleamed with a determined fire. "Together, we will forge a future where the light of reason and compassion shines forth, banishing the shadows of oppression and fear. This is our destiny, our birthright. To stand as equals among the stars, to shape the very fabric of the cosmos itself." As the chamber erupted in thunderous applause, Rice knew that the true work had only just begun. The challenges that lay ahead were daunting, the road uncertain. But in the hearts of those who stood with him, he saw the same unwavering spirit that had carried humanity to this pivotal moment. With a renewed sense of purpose, Rice turned his attention to the task at hand, ready to lead his people and their newfound allies into a new age of enlightenment and prosperity. The galaxy's destiny was theirs to grasp, and they would not rest until it was firmly in their hands. The ascension of humanity. In the aftermath of the tumultuous events that had reshaped the galaxy, Chancellor Rice found himself at the center of a web of complex alliances and shifting power dynamics. The Concord Council, once a bastion of the old order, had been reborn as a forum for true cooperation and progress. But Rice knew that maintaining this delicate balance would require unwavering determination and vigilance. As the newly installed steward of the council, Admiral Vega took on the responsibility of ensuring that the principles of egalitarian Unitarianism were upheld with impartiality and fairness. Her steely gaze and commanding presence commanded the respect of even the most recalcitrant delegates, and she proved adept at navigating the political minefields that threatened to derail the reform efforts. Alongside Vega, Admiral Thorne and her Avon allies served as crucial intermediaries, lending their diplomatic expertise and forging crucial alliances with the smaller, once marginalized species that now found themselves empowered within the new galactic order. Their deep understanding of the complex web of allegiances and historical grievances proved invaluable as the Concord worked to heal the wounds of the past. Yet, even as the seeds of unity were sown, pockets of resistance continued to linger, fueled by the diehard loyalists of the old regime. Colonel Phoenix's covert strike teams remained vigilant, ruthlessly dismantling any remnants of the reptilian and Dranger's illicit research programs, while Admiral Caldwell's fleet patrolled the Outer Rim, hunting down the last vestiges of the Delvian insurrection. In the halls of Terra Nova, Chancellor Rice navigated the delicate political landscape, forging consensus and brokering compromises that allowed the Concord to move forward with its ambitious agenda. He knew that true lasting peace could only be achieved through careful diplomacy and the acknowledgement of the diverse needs and aspirations of the galaxy's multitude of species. "We stand at a crossroads, my friends," he would often declare, his voice carrying a weight that belied his relatively youthful appearance. "The path ahead is fraught with challenge, but if we remain steadfast in our commitment to unity and justice, there is no obstacle we cannot overcome." His words resonated with the assembled delegates, many of whom had once looked upon humanity with a mixture of disdain and fear. Now they saw in Rice a leader of unparalleled vision and integrity, a champion of a future where the divisions of the past would be consigned to the annals of history. Yet even as the Concord Council solidified its grip on the galactic stage, new threats emerged from the shadows. Reports filtered in of massive fleet movements on the Outer Rim, and intelligence operatives traced the source back to a resurgent Dranger horde, led by none other than the notorious Supreme Warlord Draz. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Rice summoned his most trusted commanders to a secretive war council, their faces illuminated by the flickering holograms that filled the chamber. "Gentlemen, ladies," he began, his brow furrowed with concern, "the Dranger have reawakened, and they pose a grave threat to all that we have built. We must act swiftly and decisively if we are to preserve the fragile peace we have forged." General Graves, his weathered features etched with determination, stepped forward. "Chancellor, our forces are prepared. We will strike at the heart of the Dranger Empire, crippling their military infrastructure and cutting off their supply lines." Vega's piercing gaze swept the room. "And I will lead a task force to engage their main fleet, drawing their attention away from the ground operations. We cannot afford to underestimate their resilience this time." Rice nodded, a glimmer of hope igniting in his eyes. "Then let us show the Dranger the true might of the Concord. This will be their final reckoning." In the days that followed, the galaxy held its breath, watching as the forces of the Concord unleashed a devastating offensive against the Dranger horde. The battles that ensued were titanic in scope, with human capital ships and Avon cruisers engaging the enemy's vast armada in a display of unparalleled firepower and tactical brilliance. On the ground, elite human and Katashi strike teams infiltrated Dranger strongholds, dismantling their supply chains and communications networks with surgical precision. The Dranger, once the scourge of the Outer Rim, found themselves reeling under the relentless onslaught, their vaunted military might crumbling in the face of the Concord's unwavering resolve. As news of the Dranger's defeat spread like wildfire through the galaxy, the remaining pockets of resistance capitulated, their leaders either captured or fleeing into the unknown reaches of space. In the halls of Terra Nova, Chancellor Rice stood tall, his once weary features now alight with a sense of triumph and purpose. "The darkness has been banished," he proclaimed, his voice ringing out with a newfound confidence. "The era of human domination is over, and in its place, we have forged a new age of unity, where every sentient being has a stake in shaping the destiny of the cosmos." The gathered delegates erupted in thunderous applause, their once wary gazes now filled with a newfound respect and admiration for the leader who had guided them through the tumultuous upheaval of the past years. As the celebrations subsided, Rice turned his attention to the future, his mind already racing with plans for the continued expansion and integration of the Concord. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he knew that with the diverse talents and unwavering determination of his allies, nothing was beyond their reach. In the twilight of his life, Chancellor Rice would look back on this moment, knowing that he had borne witness to the ascension of humanity to a place of unparalleled influence and responsibility. The galaxy that had once scorned and dismissed them now looked to them as beacons of hope, and it was a mantle that Rice and his successors would wear with pride and purpose. The stars had been claimed, and the future of the cosmos now lay in the hands of those who had fought to forge a new order from the ashes of the past. It was a legacy that would echo through the ages, a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity and its enduring quest for a better tomorrow.